Do you ever feel like life is hard, but when you try to talk about it in English, you're stuck saying, I have a problem or I am stressed?
Totally, it feels so basic, like you can't really explain what is happening. You just say, it is difficult, and that is it.
Exactly! Well, what if you could say, I am in a real muddle about this, and sound completely natural? In today's Deep Dive lesson, we are going to teach you 10 real English phrases for stress and difficult decisions. We'll use our special scenario immersion method to make sure you can actually use them.
Scenario immersion? So we're not just learning a list?
No lists. By the end of this video, you will be able to express your feelings in English with much more precision. You'll sound more native, and you'll be able to connect with people on a deeper level when you're talking about tough times.
Okay, so how are we going to do that? What is the plan for today?
Great question, Ben. We have a clear roadmap for you all. First, we'll build your foundation. I'll introduce the most essential phrases for talking about general difficulty and feeling overwhelmed. Next, we'll expand on that. We will jump into some mini scenarios, practicing how to use these phrases in real-life situations, like dealing with work stress or making a tough personal choice. And finally, we'll refine your skills. We'll look at a super common mistake to avoid, and I'll teach you some advanced phrases to make you sound even more like a native speaker.
Foundation, expansion, and refinement. Got it. I'm ready. I really need to learn what to say when life is hard.
Perfect! Then let's start building our foundation. Okay, our first phrase is to be in a tight spot.
A tight spot, like a small space.
That is a great way to remember it. Imagine you're in a space so small you can't move easily. That is the feeling. To be in a tight spot means to be in a difficult situation, often because you don't have enough money, time, or options.
Okay, so it's not just any problem, but one where you feel a bit trapped.
Exactly. For example, you could say, I can't lend you any money this week. I'm in a bit of a tight spot myself.
I'm in a bit of a tight spot myself. Okay, I see. It sounds much more natural than just saying, I have a money problem.
It does, doesn't it? It is a very common and useful real English phrase. Why don't you try making a sentence with it?
Okay, my car broke down and the repair is expensive. I'm in a real tight spot until I get paid.
That is a perfect example, Ben. You've got it. All right, let's move on to 2 phrases that are perfect for expressing stress, especially from having too much work. They are to be swamped and to be up to my eyeballs in something.
Swamped, like a swamp with water and mud?
Yes. Imagine you're in a swamp and the water is rising all around you. You feel overwhelmed, like you can't move. When you are swamped, it means you have a huge amount of work to do and you feel buried by it.
So I could say, I can't go out tonight. I'm swamped with homework.
Perfect. Now, a very similar phrase is to be up to my eyeballs in something. Picture that water in the swamp rising all the way up to your eyes.
Wow. Okay, that is a strong image. So I'm up to my eyeballs in reports this week.
Exactly, both swamped and up to my eyeballs in mean you're extremely busy and overwhelmed with tasks. They are fantastic for describing work or study stress. For example, sorry for the late reply. I've been up to my eyeballs in emails.
So they are basically interchangeable.
Pretty much up to my eyeballs in might sound a little more dramatic and visual, but you can use them in the same situations to express how overwhelmed you are. They are a huge upgrade from just saying, I'm very busy. Okay, so we've learned 3 fantastic phrases: in a tight spot, swamped, and up to my eyeballs in. Let's try to connect them, Ben. Imagine your friend asks you for help moving house this weekend. How could you politely say no using these phrases?
A classic situation. Okay, let me try. I could say, oh, I'd love to help, but I'm in a real tight spot this weekend. I'm completely swamped with a project for work. Honestly, I'm up to my eyeballs in paperwork.
Ben, that was absolutely perfect. See how you combine them? It tells a complete story of your situation and sounds so much more convincing and natural. Great job.
Thanks. It really does feel better to have more options to express this kind of stress.
Now, for our last foundational phrase, this one is for when you're not just busy, but mentally exhausted and frustrated because you've tried everything to solve a problem and nothing works. The phrase is, at my wit is end.
At my wit is end. What does wit mean here?
Wit is an old word for your intelligence or your ability to think of clever ideas. So if you are at your wit is end, it means you have run out of ideas. You are frustrated and don't know what to do next.
So it is not about being busy, it is about being stuck.
Exactly. For example, the baby has been crying for 3 hours. I've tried everything and I'm at my wit is end.
Oh, I can feel that emotion. So I could say, I've been trying to fix my computer all day and I'm at my wit is end. I think I need to call a professional.
That is a perfect use of the phrase. You've tried all your own ideas and now you're giving up. That is at my wit is end. Okay, we have our foundation. Now let's move into our expansion phase and see how these phrases work in the real world. But first, a question for all of you watching. We've talked a lot about phrases like swamped and up to my eyeballs in work. We'd love to hear from you. Have you ever felt completely swamped at work or school? What was the situation? Share your story in the comments below. It is always great to know we're not alone in these feelings.
Yeah, definitely read the comments. I bet we've all been there.
All right, Ben, time for our first scenario immersion. Let's role play. Imagine I'm your team leader at work, and I'm calling to check on your progress with the big project. You are very stressed. Ready?
Ready? Let's do it.
Hi, Ben. Just calling to see how everything is going with the Miller account presentation. Are we on track for Friday?
Hi, Ava. To be honest, we're in a bit of a tight spot. The design team is behind schedule, which means I haven't received the final graphics yet.
Oh no, that is not good. Is there anything I can do to help? You sound a bit stressed.
I appreciate that. I'm just completely swamped. I'm trying to write the report and prepare the speech at the same time. I'm up to my eyeballs in data over here.
Okay, I understand. Let me talk to the design team and see if I can speed things up. Don't worry, we'll figure this out. And scene, how did that feel, Ben?
That felt so real. Using those phrases in a conversation really clicks. In a tight spot, explained the situation, and swamped, and up to my eyeballs explained my personal feeling of being overwhelmed.
And that is the power of using real English phrases. You communicated your situation perfectly. So we've covered the stress that comes from having too much to do. But what about the stress that comes from having to make a difficult choice?
Oh, that is a tough one, like choosing between 2 job offers or deciding whether to move to a new city.
Exactly! These situations need a different set of expressions. So for the next part of our expansion, we are going to learn 3 amazing idioms that are perfect for when you're facing a difficult decision. All right, our first phrase for making a choice is on the fence. Imagine a fence, and you're sitting on top of it. You're not on one side or the other.
So you're stuck in the middle, you haven't made a decision yet.
Precisely! To be on the fence means you are undecided between 2 options. For example, I'm on the fence about whether to buy the new phone or save my money.
That is a very clear image. So I could say, my friend asked if I'm going to the party, but I'm still on the fence.
A perfect everyday example. Now, what if the problem is not just being undecided, but feeling confused and disorganized in your thoughts? For that, we use to be in a muddle.
In a muddle. I've never heard that one.
It is very common, especially in British English, but widely understood. A muddle is a state of confusion. If you're in a muddle, your thoughts are mixed up and you can't think clearly about the decision.
So, on the fence is about the choice, but in a muddle is about the feeling of confusion inside your head.
What a great way to put it, Ben. Exactly right, you might say. I've been thinking about my career path so much that now I'm in a complete muddle. I don't know what I want anymore.
I'm in a complete muddle. I like that. It really describes that confusing feeling when there are too many thoughts.
Okay, now for a very powerful and famous idiom. What if you have to choose between two options, but both options are bad?
Oh no, that is the worst kind of decision, a lose-lose situation.
Exactly. For that, we say you are between a rock and a hard place. Imagine you're trapped. On one side is a huge rock. On the other side is a hard stone wall. You can't go forward. You can't go back. Both choices lead to a bad outcome.
Wow, okay, that is intense. So it is not for a simple choice like coffee or tea.
Definitely not. This is for serious dilemmas. For instance, if I take the new job, I have to move away from my family. If I don't take it, I might lose my house. I'm really between a rock and a hard place.
That makes sense. Both options have a significant negative consequence. You're truly stuck.
Let's try our second scenario, immersion, to put these decision-making phrases into practice. This time, imagine you're my good friend. You've been offered a fantastic job, but it is in another country. We're having coffee and you're telling me about it. Ready?
Ready.
Hey, Ben, you've been quiet for a while. Is everything okay? You seem like you have a lot on your mind.
Hey, Ava, yeah, I'm okay. I got that job offer in Canada I told you about. The salary is amazing.
Wow, that is incredible news. Congratulations! So you're going to take it.
That is the thing. I don't know. I'm totally on the fence. My whole family is here, and my girlfriend doesn't want to move.
Oh, I see. That makes it complicated.
It does. My head's in a complete muddle about it all. One minute I'm excited, the next I'm terrified of leaving everyone.
It sounds like a really tough choice.
It is. I feel like I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place. If I stay, I miss this huge career opportunity. If I go, I could ruin my relationship. I honestly don't know what to do.
And scene. Ben, that was so believable. You used all three phrases perfectly to show your journey from indecision to confusion to feeling trapped in a true dilemma.
Thanks. Acting it out really helps solidify the meaning. I can really feel the difference between being on the fence and being between a rock and a hard place. Now,
that scenario was quite emotional, and I'm sure many of you watching have faced similar situations. Life is full of big choices. So for our next question, tell us about a time you were on the fence about a big decision. Maybe it was about a job, a relationship, or moving. What did you decide in the end? We'd love to read your stories in the comments.
sharing these experiences can be really helpful. Let's learn from each other.
Okay, we've reached our final layer, refinement. This is where we make your English even more precise. Let's talk about a very common mistake I hear learners make with one of these idioms.
Which one?
Between a rock and a hard place. Because it is such a famous and powerful idiom, learners sometimes use it for situations that aren't serious enough. Let's do a quick mistake and correction role play. Ben, I want you to make the mistake first. Tell me you're between a rock and a hard place when deciding what to have for dinner.
Okay, got it? Oh, Ava, I don't know what to do for dinner tonight. I want pizza, but I also want a burger. I'm really between a rock and a hard place.
I understand the feeling, but that is a perfect example of how not to use the idiom. A native speaker would probably just laugh and say, "That is not a rock and a hard place. That is just called being hungry."
Okay, so it is an exaggeration. What should I have said instead?
For a simple, low-stakes choice like that, you would just say, "I can't decide what to eat," or "I'm torn between pizza and a burger." You only use between a rock and a hard place when both options have serious negative consequences. Remembering this difference will make you sound much more advanced.
That is a really important distinction. Use the power phrases for powerful situations. Got it.
To finish our refinement layer, I want to quickly give you 3 more bonus phrases. You can think of these as alternatives to "in a tight spot." They are all very common and will make your vocabulary even richer. They are "in a bind," "in a pickle," and "up against a wall."
In a bind, in a pickle, and up against a wall. They all sound like you're trapped.
They do, and that is the core feeling. In a bind is very similar to in a tight spot, often used when you have a problem that is difficult to solve. For example, I'm in a real bind. I promised to help 2 different friends at the same time. In a pickle is a more informal, almost cute way to say you're in a difficult situation. It's a little less serious. You might say, uh-oh, I've locked my keys in the car. Now I'm in a pickle.
In a pickle, I like that one. It sounds a bit funny.
It does. And finally, up against a wall is very strong. It means you have no more options and you're forced to act. It's similar to at my wit is end, but focuses more on the external barrier rather than your internal frustration. For example, the company is up against a wall and has to lay off some employees.
So, in a tight spot is the general one, in a pickle is informal, and up against a wall is for when you have 0 options left.
A perfect summary. Don't worry about mastering these 3 right away, but just listen for them in movies and conversations. And one last refinement point, Ben. It is about culture. Why do you think we have so many phrases like this in English?
I'm not sure. Maybe because life is just hard for everyone.
That is part of it, but also in many English-speaking cultures, using these idioms is a way to share your feelings without being overly dramatic. Saying, I'm in a bit of a pickle is a soft way to ask for help. Saying, I'm between a rock and a hard place is a way to get empathy and advice from a friend. They are tools for connection.
So, learning these isn't just about vocabulary, it is about learning how to connect with people on an emotional level.
You've hit the nail on the head. That is the real goal. All right, that was a lot of information, but you've all done an amazing job. Let's do a quick review to bring everything together.
Seeing them grouped like that is super helpful. It organizes them in my mind.
We started because we were tired of just saying, I have a problem. So, we learned 10 real English phrases to express ourselves better. Let us group them by feeling. For feeling overwhelmed, we have swamped and up to my eyeballs in. For being in a difficult situation, we have in a tight spot, in a bind, in a pickle, and up against a wall. For feeling mentally stuck and frustrated, we have at my wit is end. And for making hard choices, we have on the fence in a muddle. And the very serious between a rock and a hard place.
Seeing them grouped like that is super helpful. It organizes them in my mind.
Now, for the final test, Ben, the comprehensive scenario drill. I'm going to give you a complex situation, and I want you to use at least 3 different phrases from today's lesson to describe it. Ready?
Okay, I'm ready. Let's do it.
Here is the situation. Your best friend has asked you to be the best man at his wedding, which is in another country. You've already bought the expensive plane ticket, but your boss just told you that you have to lead a massive career-changing presentation on the exact same day. You cannot change the date of the presentation. How would you describe your situation to another friend?
Oh, wow. Okay, that is a tough one. I'd say you won't believe the situation I'm in. I'm in a real tight spot. On one hand, I have my best friend's wedding, but on the other, I have this career-defining presentation. My mind is in a complete muddle trying to figure out what to do. I feel totally between a rock and a hard place because no matter what I choose, I'm going to badly disappoint someone I care about.
Ben, that was absolutely phenomenal. Seriously, you used 3 phrases, each one perfectly describing a different layer of the problem. The situation, tight spot, your internal feeling in a muddle. And the impossible choice, between a rock and a hard place. That is exactly how a native speaker would talk about it.
Wow, thank you. I actually feel like I can really use these now. I have the words.
That feeling is exactly what we want for all of you. To get there, don't just memorize these phrases. You need to make them your own.
So, what is the best way to practice?
Here is a simple tip. The situation association method. Don't write the phrase and its definition. Instead, every time you learn a new idiom, write down a short, personal situation next to it. For swamped, write that week I had 3 exams. For on the fence, write choosing my university. Connecting the phrase to a real memory makes it 10 times easier to recall in a real conversation.
Situation association, I'm going to start doing that. That is great advice.
Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive today. We really hope you feel more confident about how to talk about life's challenges in English.
Your learning doesn't have to stop here. We have a little homework for you. We call it an upgraded micro assignment.
That is right. Your assignment is this. Choose one idiom we learned today and write a sentence in the comments about a real or imagined situation in your life. For example, I was on the fence about moving to a new apartment, but I finally decided to do it.
Don't be shy. We will read and reply to as many of your comments as we can. It is the best way to practice.
And before you go, we have one last question for you. Which of these 10 phrases was the most useful or interesting for you today? Let us know in the comments. Your feedback helps us create better lessons.
Absolutely. And if you want to keep learning real English that you can use in your real life and you want to sound more natural and confident, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications.
We're here to help you move beyond textbook English and start having real, meaningful conversations. Subscribing is the best way to make sure you don't miss our next lesson. Remember, everyone faces tough times. Now you have the tools to talk about them, connect with others, and feel understood.
Keep practicing and don't be afraid to make mistakes. We'll see you in the next video.